Good afternoon, everyone. Let us start our plenary final sessions. Before we start, I would like to ask Andrew Budefad, who is representing FOC Support Unit, to brief Freedom Online Coalition activities, since we have skipped that session, and to include also the current one so that we are completely updated before we close. Andrew.
Hi, thanks very much. So my name's Andrew Pudifat. I'm the Director of Global Partners Digital, and I'm also we act as the support unit to the Coalition. So I'm here in the capacity as the support unit to the Coalition, reporting back on the major highlights since the Tallinn conference, and also to indicate where the Coalition has reached in the current stage of development. As you probably all know, the Coalition has grown from an annual conference of 11 countries established in The Hague to now a very active diplomatic network with strong engagement with a range of stakeholding groups, now comprising 26 countries, but with other countries indicating interest, and we expect that number to rise over the next couple of years. We now have a website for the Coalition, which has been launched about 18 months ago, if you wish to receive the newsletter directly. And to increase the transparency of the workings of the Coalition, we'll be starting to publish the minutes of Coalition meetings so that everyone can see the kinds of discussions and deliberations that the governments of the Coalition are undertaking. We've also begun this year a new period of diplomatic coordination within the Paris missions. There was a meeting of FOC countries to consider and input into the UNESCO outcome document that was referred to yesterday, and that's proved a very successful network which is continuing to operate. We've established a similar diplomatic network to coordinate activities in Geneva around the Human Rights Council, and we hope to take the first steps to developing a similar network in New York. So the Coalition is beginning to develop as a network for like-minded governments committed to promoting human rights, to work together in a variety of forums to strengthen those rights. And that diplomatic coordination would not be really obvious to the general public, but it's something that's really taking place now more and more substantively. Something that is more obvious is the establishment of 3 working groups looking at cybersecurity, rule of law, and privacy and transparency. And I think these are unique in 2 respects. They are, to my mind, the only areas where genuinely government officials sit down with civil society activists and businesses to develop and shape policy. In most other forums, those policy processes take place separately and then people come together to exchange ideas. Within the Freedom Online Coalition, they are actually a shared enterprise among all those stakeholder groups, and they're driven and shaped by core human rights values, which I think gives them a particular value in a world where, as many speakers have remarked, there are very many competing interests and very many competing demands to satisfy within the internet itself. There's a recognition in the Coalition that the arrangements that worked for an annual conference of 11 countries are probably not adequate to support an active and dynamic coalition of 26 countries and rising. So one of the important decisions made at this year's meeting of the Coalition is to establish a review of coalition processes. That review is going to embrace a number of important elements. One is membership, both the criteria and process for membership, and questions of what to do if we feel that members, or if stakeholders feel that members have fallen below the standards necessary that should be obligatory to be members of the Freedom Online Coalition. We're looking at the organisational arrangements for both chairing the Coalition and supporting the annual conference. We'll be looking at the development of the working groups and how the working groups can continue and be sustained and develop policy that impacts on the shaping of domestic policies. And to that end, the mandates of the working groups have been extended for a further year. So those working groups will continue to exist and run over the current year, although the membership may change and there may be an open call for applications for those who wish to join. There are also important challenges arising from having diplomatic coordination at mission level as opposed to diplomatic coordination at capital level. So that's another of the issues that the coalition review will have to look at. And we'll have to look at ways in which coalition countries can support each other in capacity building, the kind of issues that have been raised this morning in a number of sessions, because clearly that's an issue where many coalition countries would value support from other members. One new development this year has been the creation of a group of countries called the Friends of the Chair to work with the coalition chair to support them in the organisational, administrative and diplomatic tasks that come with a growing and expanding coalition. Again, that Friends of the Chair group has been renewed at the current meeting. The final membership is still open to 1 or 2 countries who are considering whether they're able to join, but the Friends of the Chair will continue, and they will be overseeing the arrangements for next year's conference, and will be making an announcement, hopefully in the next couple of months, as to where the next conference will be hosted. There are some active discussions at the moment, but the final arrangements are still being made. And as the Freedom Online Coalition begins to engage much more with business and civil society, one of the other things we're doing is thinking as a coalition about how to strengthen the organisational links with civil society and with the business community. The coalition is an intergovernmental network, it's a diplomatic network, but it's one that recognises the importance of engaging with a wider stakeholder community. And to that end, we do attend a number of other meetings as coalition countries. We attended the RightsCon Civil Society Forum in the Philippines and had an open session where coalition governments sat and took questions and discussion with the audience. And we'll be hosting a similar open session at the Internet Governance Forum at Brazil in November, and we look forward to further conversations then. I think overall, all the coalition countries recognise that the coalition is work in progress. All governments themselves internally are coalitions. They have economic interests, political interests, security interests, human rights interests. And the coalition represents the human rights dimension of those governments in cooperation. And we recognise that's a challenge when governments also have security interests or business interests, which sometimes seem to cut across the other goals of the Freedom Online Coalition. But I think the coalition is strongly of the belief that a coalition of countries with public commitments to promoting human rights and democracy online is an invaluable piece of the overall architecture to strengthen human rights and democracy online in an increasingly fragile and fraught world. And we look forward to the next year to both strengthening and developing the coalition and to working with civil society organisations, businesses, the technical and academic community and other stakeholders in the year to come. So thank you very much for all the support that you've offered. We particularly want to thank the Mongolian government, who've done a magnificent job in hosting the conference this year and providing a very hospitable welcome. Both the staff in the Foreign Ministry, the President, who made a wonderful speech yesterday, but also all the students and volunteers and helpers who've made our life so comfortable. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in Mongolia, and we look forward to continuing the discussion with you in many other forums in the months and years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Our next speaker would be Mr. Richard Arbeita, Freedom and Human Rights Bureau, Canada, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Please welcome.
Colleagues, Your Excellency, the Speaker of the Parliament of Mongolia, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Government of Canada, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation to Mongolia for hosting this important conference. You have successfully engendered an open environment for frank and forward-looking exchange among key practitioners from civil society, the private sector, international organizations, and governments. You helped to expose us to the breadth of burgeoning issues affecting freedom online, including human rights online, digital emergencies, journalist liabilities, the role of the press, violence against women online, and online child protection, among others. The depth of expertise and critical thinking on these issues was considerable. I've gained, and I think I can say with confidence that we've all gained by being here. In and of itself, that may not sound particularly remarkable. People came to a conference and compared notes. But what is remarkable and worthy to note is that this conference was convened in Asia, amidst a regional and global crackdown against a free and secure internet for all. There were comments made earlier today about the consistency of the approaches of various members of the Freedom Online Coalition to the challenges they are confronting, including the country I represent. This kind of multiplicity of voices is critical to vibrant, healthy, and functioning democracies. The freedom to express diverse views without risk to personal safety and security is an essential component of public debate. Unfortunately, as we have heard, this right is not respected, promoted, or protected in many of the countries where the tremendous growth in internet usership is underway. Moreover, a growing number of governments are harnessing the latest cyber technologies to consolidate power and quash dissent. In Russia, President Putin has imposed restrictions on the internet that amount to a crackdown on the media and opposition voices, including through legislative means. Kremlin-backed trolls have flooded online space with propaganda, and hackers have conducted cyber attacks to take down platforms for free speech and open dialogue. China's continued restrictions, monitoring, and filtering of issues it deems sensitive compromises the ability of over 600 million of its citizens to access and openly share information, and calls into question its commitment to adhere to international standards on human rights and the rule of law. The Iranian government has the dubious distinction of having created one of the world's leading censorship regimes for the internet. This includes filters for content they oppose, and the blocking of Twitter, Facebook, and many other tools people use to connect to each other, tools that we take for granted in our countries. They are also responsible for increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks against civil society in Iran. This trend has not improved under President Rouhani, nor, regrettably, has the overall human rights situation in Iran. The tools and tactics being utilized by these governments are wholly intended to control, contain, and as necessary, crush civil society. They have the undisputed effect of violating freedom of expression and freedom of assembly. As members of this coalition, we are here because we believe that human rights are universal and apply universally. We are here because we want to protect, promote, and expand free space online. For Canada's part, we are dedicating significant resources to efforts to maintain and increase digital space for free expression and open political dialogue in places where civil society is under threat. Earlier this year, we announced up to $9 million for the Digital Public Square project. Implemented by the Munk School of Global Affairs at the University of Toronto, this project involves the establishment of online platforms to enable people living under repressive regimes to discuss political issues that matter to them and to hold their governments to account. This project is about creating and preserving space online for human rights defenders, for activists and citizens to have the same kind of open discussion that we were able to have here today. This project is about a platform. It's not about the content. It's about the value that we place in freedom of expression. We hope to be in a position to share some early lessons learned from this project when we meet here again next year. In the interim, we will of course continue to actively contribute to deliberations among members of the Freedom Online Coalition. We are here because we place tremendous value on multi-stakeholder engagement as the practical, viable, and essential approach to addressing these issues. We look forward to continuing to work with our partners to preserve and promote freedom online. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abeta. Our next speaker would be Dr. Nina Nordstrom, Director of Unit for Human Rights Policy, Political Department, Finland Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Please welcome.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Foreign Minister, Excellencies, friends of human rights online. The last 2 days have definitely proved that there is a need for the Freedom Online Coalition. The coalition is an excellent instrument for advancing human rights online. It offers us a meaningful forum in which governments, non-governmental organizations, and private sector representatives can come together to discuss issues relating to a free and secure online environment. Certainly my personal take from the various discussions that we've had over the past 2 days is that discussion after discussion show that open societies where human rights are respected, are also online, are a winning concept. And obviously we all hope that more and more countries from around the world, more and more governments will join this work in progress. Now, as we know, the key issues are full respect for human rights, transparency, the principles of democracy, and the rule of law. And the task that we all have in front of us is finding a balance between freedom of expression without hate speech, freedom or the right to access to information, on the one hand, also respect for the right to privacy, along with security issues. And surely in all of our countries we're debating how to find the right balance on these extraordinarily important issues. In Finland, as we go about this debate and as we participate in this type of discussions internationally, one of the things that we will always emphasize is the applicability of international law. We see that customary international law and of course treaty obligations that regulate states' behavior in times of peace as well as in times of war also apply in cyberspace. And existing international law of course guarantees both the right to privacy and freedom of expression. Apart from a great respect for international law, we find that multi-stakeholder cooperation is crucial both at the international and national levels. We support strengthening an open multi-stakeholder model for international governance that enables the realization of freedom of speech and expression online. The Internet provides an important means towards enhancing the participation of civil society, including human rights defenders such as bloggers. And towards that end, as an example, we have recently come out with our own Ministry of Foreign Affairs guidelines for human rights, or the protection of human rights defenders. We feel that particular attention should be paid to the challenges faced by persons and groups who are subjected to discrimination, as they often face higher barriers to internet access. And I would particularly like to thank those colleagues who in the last few days brought up the issue of a gender gap. I think at least our colleagues from Sweden did so, the Community of Democracies, the OSCE colleagues, because indeed that gap exists. And we know that addressing it is a prerequisite for the realization of human rights, of women's rights as well, and for economic development. I would also like to thank UNICEF for having brought up the very important issue of child protection here yesterday. In our government in Helsinki, we firmly believe in the benefits that new technology can bring to development. The emerging digital economy creates new opportunities for sustainable development, economic growth, innovation and entrepreneurship, and financial inclusion of the world's poorest. Social and political development can benefit greatly from new technologies, and tools that improve democratic processes can promote transparency, improve governance and public services, such as health and education. And of course, we know that it can reduce corruption. Two things that are quite topical for our government at the moment is that we're hoping to contribute to the Digital Defenders Partnership very soon. And secondly, we are going to be the host nation for the World Press Freedom Day next spring, early May. As you know, these events more or less coincided this year. And we are deliberating about bringing in aspects of a discussion about freedom online also into the next World Press Freedom Day in good cooperation with UNESCO. Now, finally, I would like to thank the organizers for this very important event. Thanks, first of all, to the Fox support unit and to the Friends of the Chair. And thanks, most importantly, obviously, to Mongolia, to the Chair, to our hosts for this conference. Your engagement in human rights is truly admirable, and your regional leadership commands great respect. So thank you, Mr. Foreign Minister, and thank you to the government. I'd like to end by citing the President as he spoke yesterday when he said, "Online freedom is inseparable from human rights." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nordstrom. Our next speaker is His Excellency Iqbal Zandahu, the Speaker of Mongolian Parliament.
It's an international event. If I speak English without class, I don't see how many Mongolians, how many English speaking. English, mostly English speaking. Yes? Distinguished guests and delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted that 5th Ministerial Conference of the Freedom Online Coalition is being held in Mongolia at the year commemorating 25th anniversary of First Mongolian Free and Democratic election, which has led to political democratization in the pre-market economy. Conference participants engaged in broad and in-depth discussions in 3 tracks, including internet free and secure, digital development and openness, privacy and transparency online, under the overarching theme, internet policy making best practices for promoting online freedom. Representatives from the government, civil society, academia, and private sectors have participated productively in this conference and expressed their commitment to strengthen continuous cooperation to respect fundamental rights and freedoms online and make internet free and secure public platform promoting to exercise and protect human rights such as free expression, association, assembly, and online privacy worldwide, as well as to run online businesses and to engage in social life, regardless of time, space, constraints. Moreover, Freedom Online Coalition stakeholders have discussed threats and challenges faced by countries in regard to facilitating an internet open and accessible through legal and policy regulations of the telecommunication sector by the government. Freedom Online Coalition has expressed continuous commitment to promote and protect internet freedom in this region. We emphasize the importance of rule of law, principles, and good practices promoting internet freedom and encouraged countries to develop and implement innovative cyber policy based on public participation and through transparent and democratic processes. We also discussed the importance of the internet freedom in Mongolia and within this region, as well as benefits of cyber environment to support internet freedom and protect fundamental human rights as free expression, association, assembly, and privacy online worldwide. In this regard, views and inputs from the civil society and private sector were considerably valuable. Millions of people every day connected online, and the internet is providing unprecedented opportunities for economic growth and development, so that emerging needs required to protect fundamental human rights, but also to facilitate cross-border data sharing freely. Enactment of restrictive laws and regulations, such as eavesdropping and spying, and restraining fundamental human rights and freedom will lead to deny enormous opportunities and benefits of the internet. Conference participants have expressed appreciation and called for joining common efforts to promote and facilitate human rights and freedom online through innovative programs, initiatives, and technologies. Freedom Online Coalition called governments, international organizations, civil society, and private sector to cooperate on implementing best practices promoting the internet freedom through its further forums and meetings. Congratulating Lithuania, Australia, and Norway for joining coalition family, I believe these new members will contribute the efforts to promote and protect human rights in cyber environment based on mutual obligations to respect human rights and freedom. Mongolia is making efforts to contribute to respecting human rights and maximizing the impact of internet for social and economic development. While successfully chairing the coalition, hosting of this conference in Ulaanbaatar is the evidence of Mongolia's contribution to strengthen and promote principles and concepts of the coalition broader than ever. In 2000, Mongolian State Electoral Parliament approved the ICT Development Concept Paper 2000 to 2010. In 2005, under this policy concept, Government of Mongolia adopted National Program E-Mongolia. As a result of implementing e-governance sub-program from 2013, within the scope of this e-Mongolia program, Government of Mongolia has transformed about 160 public services, such as traffic police ticketing system, land privatization to residents of Ulaanbaatar city, customs clearance and tax statement, civic registration, among others, into online formats. In recent years, information and communication technology sector have been developing rapidly based on innovative breakthroughs. Landlocked Mongolia has been connected to Asia-Europe high-speed fiber optic cable gateway and made efforts to ensure free and secure accessible cyber environment. During the Mongolia's chairmanship of the Freedom Online Coalition, Internet Freedom Support Caucus was set up in the State Directorate, which has been developing draft laws on safeguarding data and information security, in addition to presenting press freedom law for parliamentary deliberation soon. Consequently, it is considered that enactment of these laws will effectively address challenging issues such as ensuring human rights and cyber environment, protecting national security, improving information access and security, and safeguarding individual privacy and human dignity. This two-day conference discussions have confirmed that cyber environment and internet freedom are to be cross-cutting in broader issues covering multifaceted stakeholders rather than technology and human relations matters. Importantly, state organizations need to evaluate the existing legal documents and standards in regard to their impact on human rights and their coordination, while business entities and companies should be put for standard requirements, ensuring online privacy and freedom, and set a clear penalty system. Private companies running ICT services shall respect human rights when approving their service agreements and operational procedures, and also uphold public concern and interests of other relevant parties in their operations. Moreover, I'd like to highlight possibilities that ICT sector can contribute significantly to protect human rights of vulnerable groups, ethnic minorities, women and children's rights, as well as protect general public from threats such as climate change and natural disasters. Taking this opportunity, I kindly request government representatives who have gathered here to support Mongolia's nomination to the election for Human Rights Council membership, United Nations. Finally, I express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to all presenters, government delegation, participants, and the sponsors of the 5th Ministerial Conference of Freedom Online Coalition to your valuable contribution to promote internet freedom globally. Also, would like to express special thanks to the working group consisting of coalition members and other teams who made this conference a successful one. Wish you all the best and good luck to your work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Ingpoltam Dahu. I do remember recently encountering with Parliament members in this hall, in this hall, State Palace, and I observed that each Parliament member has now iPad, and they have a special program, and every Parliament sessions, including standing committee sessions, are run through this iPad, and each has their own iPad numbers, etc. And if they want to materials on paper, they can print from the iPad throughout this building by any printer, paying from his own office budget. And I do remember this house was using a truck of print paper a month. Not anymore. So thank you, Speaker. So this is a part how the internet is coming part of our life, modern nation. And yet we have so many other issues to address that you have been addressing for the last 2 days. So altogether, my feeling was we are part of one large community, and we have the same challenge. And the good thing is, as just now Dr. Nordstrom said, this our coalition is the tools to address our issues, to make the world better. So that's the message, I think, from Mongolia, from this FOC 5th conference. But the final statement would be made by Mr. Rambod, who is the head of International Department of Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Mongolia, who had been doing a wonderful job during all these hard days preparing for this conference. Mr. Rambod, please.
Онлайн эрхчлөө эвслийн 5 дугаар баг хурал тус эвслийн дараа Монгол улсын удирдлагадор 2015 оны 5 дугаар сарын 4-5-ны өдрүүдэд Монгол улсын нийслэл Улаанбаатар хотно боллоо. Онлайн эрхчлөө эвслийн гишүүд бид интернетийн бодлого, онлайн эрхчлөөг хөхүүлэн дэмждэг шилдэг арга ажиллагаа сэдвийн хүрээнд чөлөөтэй найдвартай интернет, цахим технологийн хөгжил ба ил тод байдал, онлайн орчинд хувь хүний нууц ба ил тод байдал зэрэг 3 чиглэлээр өргөн хүрээнд үр дүнтэй хилцлээ. Онлайн эрхчлөө эвслийн оролцогчдоос бүрдсэн ажлын хэсгүүдийн үйл ажиллагаач эдгээр чиглэлд төлхөө хандлаа. Хүний үндсэн эрх эрхчлөөг захим орчинд хүндэтгэх, интернетийг цаг хугацаа орон зайны эрхшээлгүйгээр найдвартай, хүртээмжтэй, мэдээлэл солилцдог, үзэл бодол сүсэг бишрэл, итгэл үнэмшлээ илэрхийлдэг, эвлэлд нь нэгддэг, бизнес эрхэлдэг, нийгмийн амьдралд оролцох өргөн боломжийг бүгдэд олгодог, чөлөөт эндэр болгохыг тууштай эрмэлзэгч төр засгийн газрууд, хувийн хэвшлийн компаниуд, иргэний нийгмийн байгууллагууд зэрэг өргөн бүрэлдэхүүнтэй олон талын төлөөлөл Улаанбаатарын баг хуралд оролцлоо. Интернетийн ашиг тусыг нээлттэй, хүртээмжтэй болгоход харилцаа холбооны хууль, бодлого зохицуулалтаар дэмжихийг эрмэлздэг улс орнуудад тулгуурч буй сорилтуудын талаар эвсэл хэлэлцлээ. Бид хүний эрхийг хамгаалах бодлогыг захим орчинд нэвтрүүлэхэд тохиолддог бэрхшээл хүндрэлүүдийг авч хэлэлцэн, интернетийн эрхчлөөг хөхүүлэн дэмжих, бодлого боловсруулсан шилдэг үлгэр дуурайллыг онцлон тэмдэглэхийг зорьсон бөгөөд хуулийг дээдлэх зарчимд нийцсэн, бүх нийтийн оролцоонд түшгэлсэн, ил тод, арчилсан үйл явцын үр дүнд интернетийн дэвшилтэд бодлого боловсруулан хэрэгжүүлэхэд улс орнуудыг уриаллаа. Бид Монгол улс болон тус бус нутагт интернетийн эрхчлөөний ач холбогдлыг хэлэлцээд захим орчинд үзэл бодлоо илэрхийлэх, эвлэлд нь нэгдэх, хувь хүний нууцыг хамгаалахын ач холбогдлыг мөн цохон тэмдэглэсэн. Иргэний нийгэм, хувийн хэвшлийн оролцогчдын хувь нэмэр үзэл бодлын тал дээр онцгой үнэтэй байлаа. Интернетийн эрхчлөөг тус бус нутагт хамгаалах, хөхүүлэн дэмжих талаар тууштай байр суурь баримтлж буйгаа бид дахин илэрхийллээ. Интернетэд өдөр бүр олон сая хүн шинээр холбогдсон, эдийн засгийн өсөлт хөгжилд иргэний оролцоонд урд үзэгдээгүй өргөн боломж нэгдэж байна. Энэхүү их боломж хүний эрхийг хамгаалж хөхүүлэн дэмжих, хил хязгаарыг алгасуулан мэдээллийг чөлөөтэй солилцоход тууштай хандахыг биднээс шаардж байна. Захим орчинд хяналт тогтоох, хууль бус, тагнах, хавчин хориглох, хууль тогтоомж батлах замаар хүний үндсэн эрх эрхчлөөг хавчин боогдуулах явдал интернетийн асар их боломжийг үгүйсгэхэд хүрнэ. Эвслийн гишүүд бид ийм оролдлогын эсрэг хүний эрх зархим орчимд ч бүрэн хэрэгждэг байхын төлөө тууштай ажиллах болно. Сүүлийн үед зарим улс орнд харилцан адилгүй нөхцөл байдалд нийгмийн сүлжээний хүртээмжийг хязгаарлаж буй хэлбэр тооны хувьд нэмэгдэж байгаа. Нийгмийн сүлжээний хүртээмжийг хязгаарлаж буй эвслийн онлайн эрхчлөө эвсэл 2014 оны 8 дугаар сарын мэдээлэлд дурдсанчлан бид сэтгэл төгсөж байгаагаа илэрхийллээ. Нийгмийн сүлжээгээр талж буй контентын талаар хүний эрхийн олон улсын хуулиудыг зөрчин, ялангуяа нийгмийн сүлжээгээр хоморглон хааж, хувь хүмүүс захим орчинд эрхээ эдлэхийг хориглон хязгаарлаж буйд бид дахин буруушаалаа. Тагнан чагнах техник технологи хэрэгэлсэн, экспортод нийлүүлсэн талаар онлайн эрхчлөө эвслийн 2014 оны 10 дугаар сарын мэдээлэлд дурдсанчлан хувь хүний нууцд халдах талаар хүний эрхийн олон улсын хууль заасныг зөрчин тагнаж чагнах техник төхөөрөмж хэрэгэлдэг явдалтай амжирсанд бид сэтгэл төгсөж байлаа. Тагнаж чагнах техник төхөөрөмжийн хэрэглээг хязгаарлахад улс орнууд төрөл бүрийн салбар бүрийн оролцогч нар хүчин чармайлтай шиглүүлэхийн сацуу хязгаарлахад хүчин чармайлтай чиглүүлэхийн сацуу ийм техник тоног төхөөрөмжийн хэрэглээ экспортыг зохицуулах үндэсний хууль тогтоомж бодлого боловсруулах нь зүйтэй гэж үзлээ. Хүний эрхийн түгээмэл тунхаглалд дурдсан онлайн эрх чөлөө эвслийн анхны тунхаглалд тэмдэглэсэнчлэн хүний үндсэн эрх чөлөөг хүндэтгэх хамгаалахад болон эвслийн үйл ажиллагааны ерөнхий хүрээнд тэргүүлэх чиглэлүүдийг тодорхойлсон Найробийн нөхцлүүд Таллинны асуудлуудад тууштай байгаагаа бид дахин нотлоо. Хүний үндсэн эрх чөлөөг захин орчинд хөхүүлэн дэмжих, хамгаалахад тус төхөн үзүүлэх хөтөлбөр, санал санаачлах техник технологиудад тусалцаа үзүүлэхийн төлөө бид тууштай байгаа бөгөөд эдгээр хүчин чармаалтад нэгдэн нийлхийг оролцогч бус талуудад зөвлөлөө. Захин орчинд эрх чөлөөг хөхүүлэн дэмжиж, шилдэг арга ажиллагааг цаашдж хамтран ашиглахад онлайн эрх чөлөө эвсэл болон бусад чуулга уулзалтаар уламжлан дэлхийн дахны төр, засгийн газрууд, ховийн хэвшил, олон улсын байгууллагууд, иргэний нийгмүүдэд хандан уриаллаа. Эвсэлд нэгдсэн Литва, Австрали, Норвегийн вант улсуудад баяр хүргэж, хүний үндсэн эрх чөлөөг хүндэтгэх, хамтын удирдлага тулгуурлан захин орчинд эрх чөлөөг хамгаалах, хөхүүлэн дэмжих үйлсэд тэд өөрсдийн хувь нэмрийг оруулна гэж итгэж байгаагаа илэрхийллээ. Бид онлайн эрх чөлөө эвслийн 5 дугаар хурлыг амжилттай зохион байгуулсанд болон интернетийн эрх чөлөөг дэлхийд дахин түгээн дэлгэрүүлэхэд үнэтэй хувь нэмэр оруулсанд Монгол Улсын засгийн газар нийт оролцогчдод, илтгэгч нарт болон дэмжигчдад чин сэтгэлийн талархал илэрхийллээ. Захин орчинд эрх чөлөө хөхүүлэн дэмжихэд цаашдч хамтран ажиллахыг оролцогч талуудаа уриаллаа. Онлайн эрх чөлөө эвслийн 6 дугаар баг хурал 2016 онд болно гэдэгт итгэж байгаагаа бид мөн илэрхийллээ. Улаанбаатар хот 2015 оны 5 дугаар сарын 5. Баярлалаа.
Well, with this remark, we are concluding our 2 days' work. Congratulations, everybody, especially those who came all the way through long road, and in spite of your jet lag, you have been working very hard. And also, I would like to, as a representative of civil society, congratulate Mongolian government, parliament, Minister of Foreign Affairs for this wonderful job in spite of some difficulties. And the third, I would like to highlight that this Freedom Online Coalition 5th Conference played an important role towards making Mongolian digital world more open, our freedom of speech more not restricted, and making, at the end, Mongolians living better. Thank you very much, and the 5th Conference of Freedom Online Coalition is announced closed. Thank you. Thank you very much.